Mike Adams, the Health Ranger, filling in as the guest host today for Alex, who allegedly will be back either tomorrow or the next day. We're not sure yet, but in any case, I also want to give a shout out to Jakari and David Knight for their excellent job hosting the show over the last couple of days, really breaking it down. Some very good analysis by those guys. In fact, I'm gonna quote them later, but let me give you a brief of what's coming up in the show today. We've got 3 guests for you. We've got Jeffrey John Aufderheide with some news about a vaccine Refusnik tracking app. Yeah, the government wants to track people who are refusing vaccines. So that's coming up later in this hour. Then in the second hour, we've got an interview with Wayne Allen Root, author of The Ultimate Obama Survival Guide. You got to love the title. How to Survive, Thrive, and Prosper During Obamageddon. I saw that title. I just had to invite this guy on the show. And I've never interviewed him before, but it should be real interesting. He's got a lot of great recommendations, like a 1-year income tax holiday for all taxpayers in America. I mean, how can you not love that idea? So we're going to have Wayne Allen Root on in the second hour. And then in the third hour today, we're going to have Dr. Busby, the expert on radiation, with some very important updates on Fukushima. There is radiation spiking in the soils. Let's see, we've got some more breaking news on that over here. We'll get to that in the third hour, but a lot's happening with Fukushima. And as usual, you are not being told the truth about Fukushima, about the radiation that's coming to America. Now, in terms of the news, we're going to break down the news between now and the time that all of these guests come on board. And we've got a lot of breaking news here, so I'm just going to run down some of the headlines right now, and then after we come back from the next break, we'll get into the actual details. But we've got millions are on welfare in America who are not citizens of America. That's been a big breaking story over the past couple of days, but some new information came out yesterday from Judicial Watch, where there are now apparently workers in the welfare system who are speaking out and saying that there were, quote, van loads of benefits handed out to illegal immigrants, and that the local office was given a quota, said you have to hand out this much benefit, you know, quote, benefit, free money to people. Otherwise, we're going to yank your budget. So they just began basically throwing money at anybody who would walk through the door, who could fill out a form and sign it. They're just throwing money at them because that's, of course, how the welfare state really works. So we've got that story coming up. We've got 42% of the American people, according to a poll, are unaware that Obamacare is law. Unaware. Yeah, you talk about, I mean, sometimes we joke, we talk about the zombification of the masses in America. And you see those things like when Mark Dice did that piece about people signing the petition to usher in a Nazi-style police state. Well, now 42% of Americans are unaware that Obamacare is law. They have no clue what planet they're on, okay? They don't even know. They don't know probably, you know, who's their senator, who's their congressperson. They have no clue what is going on. They're not aware of reality. They have no cognitive function. We'll get to that later. Here's some other stories we have coming up here on the Alex Jones Show. Genetically modified wheat could permanently damage human genetics by silencing hundreds of genes throughout the body. This is a whole new level of information warfare. It's genetic information warfare. We'll talk about that. Got a couple of stories that I put up about control versus empowerment and how to tell whether people are really evil or good. We'll go into that. It's a very important philosophical shortcut, you might say. And then we've got 10 trends that are driving America into social and spiritual crisis. We're going to cover that here in the next segment. Stay with us. This is Mike Adams on the Alex Jones Show. We'll be right back.
I'm Darren McBreen, and these are some of the new items that are available now at InfoWarsShop.com.
Alert the public to Obama's blatant abuse of power with the new Obama t-shirt. Obama's Joker face on the front and "Come and Take It" on the back. It's time to publicly call him out for what he is, a tyrant. Defend the Second Amendment with our top seller "Come and Take It" t-shirts. And look at that, women's cut tank tops and t-shirts now available. Nice hat. Plus, the "Don't Tread on on me flag. And now you can become a micro distributor of the InfoWars magazine. Plus, get your own copy delivered right to your door each and every month. And if you're tired like I am of you and your family being exposed to polluted drinking water, get the Pro One high-performance water filter. It gets rid of all pathogenic bacteria, cyst, fluoride, heavy metals, and numerous other contaminants.
So join the revolution at InfoWarsShop.com.
And this is Mike Adams, the Health Ranger, sitting in, guest hosting for Alex today. Yes, you are in the right place if you're listening to the Alex Jones Show. And I got to say, I'm in a great mood. I'm in a great mood today because we are winning the info war on so many fronts. It's astonishing. The liberal media, you can't even call them liberal, the leftist lying mainstream media is in total desperation. All the stories that they wanted to cover up and sweep under the rug have been exposed by InfoWars and other alternative news people, you know, Matt Drudge and to some extent my site and others. We're winning on so many fronts that they're just backpedaling now. They have to deny that they did deny, because their denials have been exposed as total lies, you know, with the DHS bullets that they said didn't exist, and now the whole story about the Boston Marathon bombing is all falling apart. You know, I was talking to the crew before the show. I was like, I want to make sure, let's fact check this, that the alleged Boston Marathon bomber who was found in the boat, he was unarmed, right? I mean, he didn't have a gun, right? And they said, right. And they brought up the news piece to confirm that he didn't have a gun. He was unarmed. And yet I remember the description of the police encounter was that they, quote, exchanged fire. They exchanged fire. How do you exchange fire with an unarmed person? And then CJ says, I think the police were exchanging fire with each other, which is almost certainly the accurate assessment of the situation. They were shooting each other, okay? The police, the cops, the FBI, you name it, whoever was on the scene. They were shooting each other, and they were imagining that they were in a gunfight with a terrorist who probably had nothing to do with this other than being told he was performing a drill for the CIA. So the whole story just completely unravels. The whole thing falls apart. Yeah, they're showing a cop that was shot, probably, you know, so-called friendly fire. All the lies are unraveling is my point. And today on the show, by the way, I should introduce the guest we have coming up, just so you know. But we're going to unravel even more of the liberal media, leftist media lies. Excuse me. I got to stop using the word liberal. It just doesn't fit anymore. Anyway, here's who we have coming up. We've got at the bottom of this hour, we've got Jeffrey John Aufderheide from VacTruth.com. He's going to be giving us some breaking news, just in a short segment, about a new vaccine refusers tracking application. Yeah, if you refuse vaccines, you're going to be tracked like a fugitive. Hey, maybe the cops will exchange fire with you, too, for refusing vaccines, even though you don't have a gun. That's the new thing. Oh, and you got to love the word games of the new police state. Okay, so we exchanged fire with an unarmed man, and the town was in a state of, quote, lockdown, and everybody was supposed to, quote, shelter in place. Yeah, it's not martial law. No, don't worry, folks. There's no martial law happening here. You're just supposed to shelter in place, which means stay in your home until we drag you out of your home at gunpoint. So shelter in place until we knock on your door, and then come out with your hands up. And as Ron Paul rightly said, he's more concerned about the police state reaction to the bombing than he was about the bombing itself. And that's accurate. Yes, Ron Paul, you are right yet again. I mean, we should be a lot more worried about police rolling up and down the streets with their armored assault vehicles and pointing their loaded rifles at people in their homes who are taking photos out of second-story windows. We should be a lot more concerned about those people than any so-called, you know, bombers or terrorists or people running around with pressure cookers. And, oh, by the way, we have another story. We're going to play a video later on about a so-called activist chick who went onto a college campus and got a bunch of college students to sign a petition banning pressure cookers. because the pressure cookers are apparently so evil. They're so incredibly evil. You know, cooking utensils. Wasn't there a school teacher who was suspended from his job last week for bringing garden tools to school to show his students how you garden? Yeah, because I guess these garden tools, a little shovel, a little rake, they're evil terrorist weapons. Unbelievable. Yeah, there it is. A teacher suspended for showing gardening tools to class. Look how evil those gardening tools are. It's a pair of scissors. It's a what is it? Like a pitchfork, a small pitchfork. And now pressure cookers are evil too. And in fact, as I recall, the manufacturer of pressure cookers, one of the manufacturers, actually pulled their pressure cookers off the shelves. Williams and Sonoma, thank you guys. They pulled it off the shelves temporarily before realizing what morons they were and then reversing their recall and putting the pressure cookers back on the shelves. So you know, here's what probably sooner or later somebody is going to commit murder with a blender. You know, they're going to run up and down the marathon with a blender. You know, like the Vitamix murderer or whatever. You know, nothing against Vitamix. Actually, Vitamix is a great product. But they're gonna be like the Vitamix rampage, and then there's gonna be a call to ban Vitamixes because someone used them in some kind of atrocious, horrific crime. There is no physical object that is safe from the irrational insanity of the radical left. Believe me. You know, you stab someone with a pencil, they want to ban pencils. You hit somebody over the head with a laptop, they want to ban all laptops. You know, it's incredible. Their incredible infatuation with inanimate objects is just beyond comprehension. I can't even get into it. But getting back to, I promised you some of the guests here that are coming up today. So here's who we've got in the second hour. I'm sorry, I can't stop laughing. It's all so funny. It's so ridiculous. But in the second hour, we've got Wayne Allen Root, the author of The Ultimate Obama Survival Guide. What a great title. How to Survive, Thrive, and Prosper During Obamageddon. I love it. I love it. A guy who writes a title like that, he gets on the show. All right? That's all there is to it. You write a title that good, you're on the show. Period. So I saw the book on Amazon, and I said, we got to get this guy on the show. Wayne Allen Root will join us in the second hour. And then in the third hour, we've got Dr. Busby, the expert on Fukushima and radiation, to give us the latest breaking news on how we're all being irradiated by a problem that the leftist media says doesn't exist. I mean, think about it. Hey, the bullets don't exist. Let's see, the Bill of Rights doesn't exist, and radiation doesn't exist, and Building 7 fell in a perfect demolition-style footprint because it had a couple of office fires, even though in the history of all buildings that are constructed out of concrete and steel, and concrete doesn't melt at those temperatures, by the way, in the entire history of all such buildings, only one building has ever fallen in its own perfect footprint like demolition, and that was Building 7. So even invoking the laws of physics, my friends, invoking the laws of physics makes you a conspiracy theorist. Yes, if you understand thermodynamics and architectural engineering, compression strength of concrete, and the torsion resistance of rebar, if you understand these things, you are a conspiracy theorist, according to people like Rachel Maddow. Oh my God, don't get me laughing on that person. Oh my God. Okay, let's get on to the news. I'm sorry. I'm just too excited today, but let's get on to some of the news. I brought a bunch of news to go over it. GM wheat. Let's start with this one. Genetically modified wheat could permanently damage human genetics by silencing hundreds of genes throughout the body, and it turns out that the GM wheat may be able to transmit its defects through multiple generations of humans. So now, by the way, GM wheat is not yet commercialized, so I don't want to raise alarm over wheat. If you go buy wheat right now, it's not GMO, okay, just to be clear. But they're trying to commercialize GM wheat. They're trying to get the USDA to approve it. And of course, the USDA loves Monsanto, and so does Obama. So they're going to say, yeah, thumbs up, go for more GMOs in the environment and in the food supply. Pretty soon, if they get their way, we're going to have GM wheat, and then we're going to have a bunch of our genes turned off. like turning off, the biological switches that control everything in your body. How wonderful is that? Just another way to deactivate humanity. Anyway, that's check out that story. I think it's up at Infowars.com as well. Getting to other news, we've got illegal aliens are collecting food stamps. Now, I wrote about this earlier in the week, and it's true that the USDA, and by the way, thanks goes to Judicial Watch for this story, judicialwatch.org, and they filed Freedom of Information Act requests. They got these documents that proved the Obama administration, the USDA under Obama, was pushing food stamps to illegals in Mexico, saying you can sign up for food stamps and get the free food credit from the U.S. government, and we won't check your immigration status. How wonderful is that? And by the way, on food stamps, did you know what you can buy? You can buy a diet soda with aspartame. You can buy regular soda. You can buy lobster. You can buy porterhouse steaks, all the steak and lobster you want. You can buy it all on the USDA's food stamp program, which is called the SNAP program, because apparently somebody there snapped and decided to just start giving away all of Americans' money to illegals who never even paid a dime of tax into the system ever in their whole lives. So you can buy all these things, but guess what you can't buy on the federal food stamp program? You can't buy vitamins. You can't buy nutrition. You can't buy superfoods, because they don't want you to be nourished. They want you to be a victim. I want you to be a dependent on the system. And guess who makes money off the food stamp program? JP Morgan, Chase, and all the other big banks that actually process all of those transactions to the tune of millions of dollars a year in profits for those banks, while Obama gets to recruit a bunch of people that might get amnesty so they can vote more Democrats into office as they're collecting free food stamp money from the government. How wonderful is that? Stay with us. We'll be right back after this break with much more. Hi, this is Mike Adams, the Health Ranger, with some news about some new additions to the InfoWars store. You know, good health is freedom. When you're healthy, you're not a slave to the medical system. Everything works well, your brain, your body, even your spirit. You're a healthier person. And to help support that great health, Alex has asked me to source the cleanest, most potent superfoods and other similar products in the world and bring them to the InfoWars store. So we've done that. The brand name is Health Ranger Select, and we're starting out right now with these three products. We've got Himalayan salt from Pakistan, formed hundreds of thousands of years ago in an ancient seabed long before modern pollution destroyed much of the oceans. This is loaded with trace minerals, and it's pristine, true, full-spectrum sea salt. We've also got Natural Attitude Turmeric. It's an extract of turmeric, very potent, tastes great, alcohol-free. This is from organic turmeric out of India. And we've also got Clean Chlorella. And we sourced and did research on all the chlorella sources around the world, and we found the two cleanest sources that have the lowest levels of any kind of contaminants. In fact, this one is virtually free of all metals and all contaminants. It's called Clean Chlorella, and it's about 2/3 protein, and it's got chlorophyll and chlorella growth factor in it. Check it out online. It's an amazing superfood that athletes are using and people are using to help support healthy lifestyles. It's fantastic. This is all packaged in our certified organic facility here in Central Texas. There we follow USDA certified standards, and we're audited every year by the USDA certifier to make sure that we comply with all organic standards. That, combined with the fact that we only source super clean superfoods and raw materials from around the world, means that our products represent the cleanest and most potent products that you'll find across the natural products industry. Check all of these out under the Health Ranger Select brand name at the InfoWars store, InfoWarsStore.com. And we'll be bringing you more of these in the near future. Thanks and take care. All right, we're back. This is the Alex Jones Show. This is Mike Adams, the Health Ranger, filling in for Alex today. Thank you for joining us as we continue to break down all the ways that we are winning the info war by just telling the truth. It's so simple. We just tell the truth. Now, on this issue that I was talking about before we went to break, you know, millions, I don't know how many, maybe tens of millions of dollars, probably a lot more if you think about it, are being handed out in food stamps to illegals in America. Now, when I wrote this story and I posted it on Facebook just to get it out there, even knowing that, you know, I was going to get completely bashed by these deranged Facebook users, and the first thing they said was, well, you can't call them illegals. You can't call them that. You have to be politically correct. Otherwise, everything you say is discredited if you call them illegals. You have to call them, quote, undocumented citizens. Undocumented citizens. I said, well, how is that? Because, first of all, they did come into the country illegally, and secondly, they're not citizens of this country. So I can't, sneak into Mexico and then just run around and get food stamps from the Mexican government, and get free health care from the Mexican government, and get free education, and then just say, I'm not illegal, I'm just undocumented. I mean, come on. Every other country in the world would kick you out, or at least not pay you a bunch of benefits. That's the real insanity. Look, I'm not against the entire culture. There's a lot to love about Latino culture and the Mexican people, and I've lived in South America. I'm just against us spending U.S. taxpayer dollars to give them benefits when they're not even citizens. I mean, how simple is it? How crazy is that? So just telling the truth, it gets you hated, I guess, by everybody today. completely hated. And now Judicial Watch says illegal aliens got food stamps by the van load. But just to be clear, I'm not against food stamps for American citizens who are in a temporary poverty crisis. I'm not against that. If we can help some families out for a short-term period, I'm all in favor of that. I'd be happy to personally donate food to them. That'd be better than paying the money to the federal government and having them waste it. I'd rather just give money to people give food to people who need it. And I've done that actually in the past. I've donated truckloads of food to the American Red Cross in Wyoming, by the way. I've done things like that. But to give away money to people who aren't even citizens is it's insane. So all of you haters and trolls out there, you're wrong and you know it. And if you keep this system going, they're going to come after your money and your house and your job, and they're just going to take everything and your bank account. They're just going to take it all. So, by the way, switching topics here very quickly. There's been a lot of confusion in the minds of people on the left. A lot of confusion about when exactly is it okay to murder people. And, because they're not covering the abortion trial in Philadelphia, because basically the leftist media says it's okay to kill babies, not only before they're born, but even right after they're born. Stab them in the neck with a pair of scissors, or just jab them with sharp objects, maybe garden tools, who knows. But it's okay, the left says, to kill the babies after they're born, and you can even have post-birth abortions, but up to 3 years of age. So it's okay to kill all those babies, according to the left. But then once they go to grade school and they're in a place like Sandy Hook, then you can't kill them anymore. And if somebody does kill them, then it's the end of the world, and you have to take away all rights and all liberties to protect that child that apparently was perfectly okay to kill 6 years earlier if it was just called a choice. All right, so in order to clear up some of the confusion on this, I did some research, and I found a graphic called The Collectivist Guide to Appropriate Murder, which is put out by the Democratic Party. And we're going to show that on screen here on prisonplanet.tv for those of you watching. I'm just going to run through this very quickly. Here is when is it appropriate to murder people according to the left? All right, so prenatal murder is perfectly acceptable. That's called abortion. That's called a choice. You can just take them out, done. Post-birth abortion, well, that's also still a choice. And who cares if this abortionist was, severing the spinal columns of little babies that were breathing, right after they're born, just slicing away. Right there. The media doesn't think that's important to cover because they support it. They love it. They kill more babies. That's totally okay. Infanticide, yeah, as it's called. Now then, once the children become school age and then they're wearing backpacks and they have these cute little tennis shoes and they're going to school, then they enter the cute zone. You can't kill them anymore, according to the left. Not okay. Not okay to kill them. But after they turn 18, it's okay to kill them once again if they're in favor of conservatism or firearms ownership. You can go on the evening news and you can say, shoot these people, and everybody laughs about it like Piers Morgan. It's totally okay. And when they're elderly, you can kill them again because you got to have the death panels, save taxpayer money, run Obamacare. Let me just say, by the way, that last bit was obviously satire. I hope you know that. I was going to mention that, but then it went to commercial. Obviously satire. The left would never admit that they support murder, even though they do. They openly do. And by the way, I just want to give thanks to the media that's actually covering the abortion murder trial. So I want to give a shout out to CNSnews.com. They've been really having great coverage of it. I want to give a shout out to Breitbart, obviously, Drudge Report. StoryLeak has been doing some good work, and they've just submitted a new video that I'm in for the Paul Revere contest. I didn't have any part in creating it, but they interviewed me for it. And that was just released last night. I don't even really know the name. Oh, Disarmed. That's the name, Disarmed. So you can check that. It's a pretty hard-hitting video about gun rights, and he interviews Steve Toth, the Texas representative, who is really an awesome guy who gets it. So I just want to give a shout out to all of these media sources, alternative media, that are doing such a great job out there. I mean, there's Rumor Mill News, there's SteveQuayle.com. There's just so many. I'm sorry if I'm leaving some out, but there's so many great websites out there that are doing a good job. So we got to be thankful for them. And of course, Infowars.com. Don't take all this for granted. This could easily go away. The government could easily come in and just seize all of these websites. Oh, and by the way, along those lines, I remember a few months ago I talked about developing a peer-to-peer information distribution technology. And I kind of dropped the ball on that. I know some of you out there who are listeners were talking with me about that. Technically, it's a very, very difficult project, but there's possibly a breakthrough in that the BitTorrent company has just released a product called BitTorrent Sync. And I'm checking that out right now to see if we can use a peer-to-peer sync to essentially distribute videos and articles and other content by dropping it into a local folder and having it sync peer-to-peer across all the other computers that have the same share link. So I'm checking that out. That's BitTorrent Sync. If you want to check that out, that could be the answer to what we do in the alternative media if the government tries to take down all of our websites. We do need a peer-to-peer, decentralized or non-centralized information sharing technology, and that could be the answer. So anyway, a lot of you out there who are even more geeky than I am can probably figure that out and get us some answers, but we got to have a technology that could be it.
Visit Infowars.com and PrisonPlanet.com. When you're on the site, you can also tune in 24 hours a day to my daily radio broadcast. There's also a free iPhone app to listen to the syndicated radio show when and where you want.